It is December 26th, Justin, and we are back on the Men of Iron podcast. Did you have a fantastic Christmas?
Absolutely.
Oh,
did you?
Great. I did.
Yeah?
It was amazing. Lots of family time. Yeah.
Rest is always good. What a good gift.
Much needed. Here's a question for you. Yeah. What song, Christmas song, or Christmas carol are you most upset about the fact that you won't hear it again until next year?
So are you asking me what my favorite Christmas song is? Okay, all right.
That's a different way of asking the question. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if this would be on the top of everyone's list. Okay. But my favorite Christmas song is I Heard the Bells.
You Heard the Bells.
Do you know that song?
I don't know that song.
Casting Crowns. I mean, it was written long time ago, but Casting Crowns, their version, I love it because it's got a good tension of both lament and celebration. Like it's about like the world is broken and like the message of Christmas is that there's hope and restoration. So I Heard the Bells. Go check it out.
You went very spiritual on me.
Oh yeah.
What's
yours?
Mine is Dominic the Donkey. That's like one of my go-to. And then Blue Christmas, I think, by Elvis. Man. Just because my grandma Grace just loves Elvis Presley, and it's just I don't know. There's something about the way he sings that song and says the word blue.
Yeah.
So anyway, until next year, Elvis.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, but hey, so we're in this series talking about man killers, and we're talking about really 4 different topics that if we don't get serious about overcoming or combating these 4 things, it will hold us back from being the best that we can be, from being all that God created us to be. So week 1, we talked about fear. Week 2 was apathy. Number 3 last week was lust. And they're all kind of tying together because this week, week 4, we're talking about addiction. So just to be upfront and really clear about this, I'm not an expert on addiction by any means, okay? And so, like, I would just say, like, if there's somebody listening that's struggling seriously with some type of substance addiction or any addiction, I would definitely encourage you to seek out professional help. You can contact us. We'd be more than happy to help you find that professional help. But we are going to talk about addiction, and just from the standpoint of how do we as men not let addiction rob us of some of the most important things in our lives. So here it is. Here's the definition of addiction, Justin. As defined by Webster's Dictionary, it is a compulsive, chronic, physiological, or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects. So that's a big definition. And it also says here some of the effects that it can have. It can cause anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea upon withdrawal or abstinence from that thing that we would be addicted to. Yeah. So that's like powerful. Yeah. And so, like, here was another thought that I looked up. It's just, I didn't even look this up. It just came up when I was looking up the definition. But the word addiction, right, as language evolved, right, it used to mean, back in the mid-16th century, it denoted the state or condition of being dedicated or devoted to something.
So it was a positive.
It was a positive thing, right, that over time and experience, I suppose, it became more of a negative thing. And so, any thoughts on addiction just to kick us off before I take us?
I think there's a lot of the big addictions that probably come to mind. Yep. I think drugs, alcohol, pornography, but men are addicted to a lot of different things. Yeah. I mean, this can be wrapping back to the beginning of apathy. I mean, I think there's even an addiction to just staying in neutral and like not doing the best and not going into the things that are the best on the other side.
Yeah, being comfortable.
Being comfortable. That's its own form of addiction. But I mean, guys can be addicted to video games, to betting, to fantasy football. Yeah. I mean,
You said betting. I thought you meant like your bed, but you meant like
sleeping.
You meant
Sure,
like gambling.
Yeah, gambling. Yeah.
And dude, it's up and coming right now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everywhere you go, I can get
everywhere.
I can get like $50 free on sportsbets.com.
You can bet on this podcast.
Oh man,
like
who's going to speak more, Justin or Travis? I don't know.
It's true. There's somewhere. It's everywhere. Yeah. Like there's. I think marketing in general plays on this for a lot of different areas. Yeah. The way that we are wired, and I think it's interesting even that you bring up addiction, that word being a good thing originally. Yeah. I think addiction plays on how God has wired us for good. Right. Like if we would put all of our desires, right? In some ways, this is the whole age-old problem of moving our desire for the Lord and what is best, and that be the desire and the focus of our heart, to needing and wanting these other things, whether they be gambling or video games or drugs or whatever it is. It's replacing him at the seat of our heart, and so it becomes bad. It becomes destructive.
It's interesting because it's like idolatry.
Yeah,
being devoted or dedicated to something other than our relationship with Jesus Christ, or whatever else might be more important than that thing. So like I did list some other common addictions that I feel like men would fall prey to, and like cigarettes. Which now would be vaping.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Man, marijuana, right? We talked about porn last week, but here's another one, man. Facebook.
Yeah. Instagram,
social media, right? Stimulants, Red Bull, caffeine in general, but what painkillers, anything that if you took it away from yourself would cause anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds ridiculous, but one of the things, like one of the biggest, I think, hurdles currently in my life is social media, Facebook. Right. And I would say specifically Facebook. I don't really care about Instagram, but like I literally had to, and we talked about cutting our right hand off, our right eye.
Yeah.
Right. Which I should probably do both in regards to Facebook. But I found myself like when I'm sitting at home with my kids and I don't know, maybe we're watching a movie together and I get bored. And what's the first thing I go to? Well, it's to pull up my phone and like scroll through Facebook.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But then something happens and my kids laugh and it's like I missed the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, like, gosh, I just completely try to get off of Facebook and don't look at it, And it's just funny too because, I don't know, anxiety. Do you get anxiety when you don't look at Facebook? Am I missing out on something?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's one of the biggest things today. And there's all these lawsuits. And I don't want to get Facebook upset at me, right? But I mean, they're under fire right now because they've created a product that's addicting.
Yeah. Yeah.
As more so than cigarettes, probably. So I don't know. It's just interesting to think about things that you can get addicted to. What's one thing, we're trying to get real on the podcast, Justin, what would you say is like an addiction that maybe you've overcome in the past, other than some of the stuff you shared last week, or even like that, something you're overcoming now, or something that you're subject to getting addicted to if you're not careful?
Yeah. I mean, shoot, you say I can't talk about last week. All right.
Sure.
That's my,
but anything else?
Oh, man. Yeah. I think the being, to me, in the last few years, what has been hard is kind of like being addicted to being complacent and being comfortable, taking easy. And it might look like scrolling Facebook or things like it, or like, man, it's been a long day. Yeah, there's a lot of work at the office and coming home, and like at the end of the day, I just want to watch some TV with the kids, and not that that's bad. No. But the easy go-to, like, let's just watch a movie rather than like engage with my kids. Yeah. It's a weird thing to say to be addicted to, but it's definitely it's a cop out. It's a step away from what is best, and it's taking the easy route and going, man, I like things being easy. Yeah. I'm addicted to comfort. Yeah. And that looks like, a ton of different things.
Yeah, that's real.
So, for sure.
Gosh, man. Yeah, other things I think people can be addicted to is fitness. We didn't bring that one up, right? I mean, I can certainly be susceptible to that. And 1 Corinthians 6:12, Paul's writing, And he says this, I have the right to do anything. And that's what we would say. Like, I can do anything I want, you say, but not everything is beneficial, right? It's okay maybe to vape. It's not a big deal, right? But is it truly God's best? And if you feel confident and comfortable continuing to vape and like you don't feel a conviction in your spirit, then don't worry about it. But it's one of those things. It's the same with alcohol, with any of these things. But if God's stirring your spirit and he's convicting you, right, to possibly put something away, then, we have to put it away. Especially it says, I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. Yeah. Another one for me is coffee, man. Even right now, I can tell you coffee has me mastered. Yeah,
it's in there.
Gosh, as I'm talking about convicted, will you get a headache if you don't drink coffee for 2 years? Oh no, man. I'm not mastered. I'm not mastered. I promise. Yeah. But who am I to nudge somebody to put something away? But I need to go before the Lord and have a conversation with him about like how do I cut back on caffeine intake? Yeah. But it's that idea of like idolatry, and I think you hinted at it a little bit. What other comments do you have about like that in regards to like idolatry, being dedicated to something that maybe you shouldn't be?
I mean, and it can even be good things. Yeah. I think that's what's hard. I think, like we said, like initially what's the big addiction thing? It's, porn, maybe coffee would hit more often now, but like drugs, alcohol, it's all these bad things. Yep. I'm not addicted to things, but like take inventory of your life. What are you spending your time doing? Right. And it can come and it can even be good things. Like, man, I'm addicted to my job, and I'm seeing like, okay, that's good. You want to work hard. Yeah. What's the balance where now it's filling the bucket of your identity, your worth, right? Yeah. Your drive, your ambition. Like, and when you start to put things above where the Lord should be. Yeah. I mean, whether you call it idolatry or addiction, like they're kind of they bleed into one another. Yeah. It's putting the other things in front of what's the best thing, and it can be good things. It can be good things, and that's what's tricky. Is like, wow, this isn't the worst thing. I don't like Facebook's not going to kill me. Yeah. But if, like you said, if it's not the best thing and it's becoming a master over your time and your attention, you're missing moments with your kids. Yeah.
That you ain't getting back.
You don't get them back. Yeah.
And that's what's interesting too, is this idea versus a wide road versus the narrow road as a Christian man. Like another thing that I think, hey, I'm a hunter, right? I love archery hunting. I had somebody very close to me who, this sounds ridiculous, but got addicted to archery hunting. Wow. It's real, man. Like, it's a real thing, But, like, because you're out in the woods all the time, you're not home with your wife. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Who's home with the kids. And, you were out all day doing what working hard to provide for your family. But your wife was working hard to provide for the family, care for the kid, whatever that be. And she needs you home. But, somebody close to me continued to neglect that. And it was a cause, right, of some significant marital issues that he had to overcome. So, it can be good things, man. Yeah. And so, like, what I'll just close, like, or work ourselves towards is this idea that we're all susceptible to addiction. And we're all susceptible to things that can draw our attention away from what's most important. I was looking 1 Corinthians 10. It says this. It says, and it's talking about the nation of Israel, but it says, "For I don't want you to be ignorant of the fact, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud, and they all passed through the Red Sea. They were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the Red Sea." What in the heck am I talking about? That's talking about the fact that, like, this nation of Israel experienced how good God is and the miracles of, like, him splitting the sea, right? Him leading the nation of Israel by a cloud a cloud during the day, fire. They saw how good God was. Yet, it says, nevertheless, God was not pleased with most of them, and their bodies became scattered in the wilderness. And you say, well, why? Well, because they turned their attention to idols, right? They dedicated their time and their attention to things that they gave more attention to. And so it says in verse 12, it says, so if you think you're standing firm, Justin, Travis, right? In all these areas, whether, primarily like lust, like we talked about, this addiction, if we think we're standing firm and that we're in the right, pay attention. right? Be careful that you don't fall, it says in verse 12. It says, no temptation, and here's the encouragement, no temptation can overcome you except what is common to all mankind.
Yeah.
And if it's gripped us, it's gripped others before, and others have overcome it. We can overcome it with the help of Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit that lives within us. God is faithful, and he won't let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. So I was challenged by that.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, so all I would say is, you know, in closing, man, is like, hey, there's lots of things that are trying to get you hooked. There's money to be made.
Yeah,
right? And
serious money.
Yeah,
right?
and good things that are out there that can grab our attention and steal our attention from what's most important. But don't let that happen.
Yeah.
How do we go about not making that happen, Justin, to close us out?
I think, like you said, what we're talking about is it's taking inventory and not assuming that this is just for some drug addicts. This podcast is just for the drug addicts in rehab.
Right.
This is for you, the normal Joe Schmo guy who's going in and out of work. Take inventory of your time and your desires.
Yeah.
There's not, you know, this that passage from 1 Corinthians 10 is great. This isn't just like the crazy out there people and things. Like good people get dragged away by good things and bad things alike because we become complacent. We're not vigilant in fighting after the thing that God wants us most fighting for is to know him, like put him at the top of the mountain, put him on the throne of our heart, the just cheesy, whatever words you want to use. Like if he's not the top thing, you're putting other things first and you're getting addicted, whether you realize it or not. And there's impact.
Yeah. And the only other thing that like I can think of is like running towards what's good, like excellent, you know, like think about those things. How do I avoid addictions or pitfalls? How do I avoid the 4 man killers that we talked about, you know? And a lot of times we don't want to think about, you know, you talk about don't think about the thing because then you end up doing the thing, you know, versus like, no, think about what is excellent, right? What is good, what is worthy of praise, you know? Think about how what positive habits you can instill in your life that will keep you from doing negative things, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Good.
But hey, listen, we're so glad that you joined us over the past 4 weeks talking about 4 man killers. We talked about fear. We talked about apathy. We talked about lust. We talked about addiction. If we don't get vigilant, is what you were talking about. If we don't get vigilant about fighting back against these things, we will not experience all the goodness God has to offer us. And I want that. I want to be able to experience all that God has to offer. You know, I know you do too, Justin. I know you listeners do too. So, hey, we can't do this alone. Life is stinking tough. We need community. We need each other. So I would just say, look, if you're not in a group of some sorts, whether it's through your church, whether it's through one of our Men of Iron groups, you should join one and you should get real about some of the struggles that you're facing. Ask for help to overcome them. Mentorship. You know, do you have a mentor that knows you and that you know well that can help you overcome these things? That's what we're about as an organization, is helping you be all that God created you to be. The goal is to change a culture one man at a time. So listen, thank you.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
That's it.
Love you, Justin. Hey, we'll talk to you next week. But hey, thanks again for listening, and Happy New Year.
Woo!
Yep, 2024, here we come. See ya. Hey, thanks for listening to our Men of Iron podcast. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you go to menofiron.org, or you can hit the subscribe button. You can ring the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any future episodes. But again, thanks for checking out Men of Iron.